Oh, good morning. Wow. Good morning. Can folks hear me? Thank you so much for being here today. We're having a couple technical difficulties related to the webcast, so please bear with us for a couple minutes while we get that running. So we should start soon. Okay, good to go. Okay, good morning. My name is Kim Horoy-Rogalski, and I'm a branch chief at the California Air Resources Board. Thank you very much for being here with us today. I'm actually delighted that there's so many of you here in person. So I have a couple just sort of housekeeping announcements. First of all, if I could please ask you to put your cell phone on vibrate or silent, that would be appreciated. If anyone needs to use the restrooms, they're immediately out the hall that way. Just keep walking till you hit a wall and you'll see them. In the event of emergencies, it says occupants may need to shelter in place or evacuate the building. And if evacuation is called for, please exit at the exit doors at the back of the auditorium. And let's see, if shelter in place is necessary, as in the case of an earthquake, please drop, cover your head, and hold on to your chair. Okay, so that should be fun for folks from the Midwest. Maybe we'll get an earthquake. Could be exciting. All right, so let me head back to this table. Okay, super. All right, well, welcome again. This is the second workshop we're holding to discuss some proposed regulatory requirements that would lengthen the mandatory warranty period for heavy-duty vehicles and engines. We first discussed these at a workshop, it was late last year, right? This is sort of part of a package of heavy-duty truck-related measures that ARB staff is working on, and this would be the first one that we expect to propose to our board for consideration. All right, so I mentioned that my name is Kim, and I think Ron Haste would like to introduce himself, and then Jeff Lowry here will be giving the presentation today.
Okay, thank you, Kim. I am Ron Haste. I'm a manager of one of the regulatory development sections in the ARB's Mobile Source Division. And so I would, So thank you for bearing with us as we resolve some of these technical difficulties. I just want to say, well, as Kim mentioned, this regulatory item that we're going to propose, lengthening the warranty period, is part of this greater on-road heavy-duty vehicle low NOx effort that will be proposed later in 2019. But I want to draw attention to the fact that, as Kim mentioned, we did have the workshop last November when we first brought up the idea of doing this rulemaking on the warranty. We asked for some assistance because there's a lot of information that we needed to gather and that we didn't know. And I just want to tell you the thank you for the parties that did respond and give us information and have worked with us, continued working with us. It's been very helpful. We're very appreciative of it. And we believe it will help us on to propose an amendment that is very successful. There's some issues that we've identified that still probably require some more discussion, and that's the purpose of one of the purposes of this meeting here. The other purpose is to let you know where we are so far in our progress in developing, crafting the amendments to the regulation. And I guess I also want to emphasize that we still want to hear from you if you have concerns or questions. Our doors are always open. I can't emphasize enough that communication here is very important, and we're always willing to listen and work and understand what your concerns are, and as we move forward in this effort. So Jeff Lowry is the lead staff person for the amendment that we're going to propose, and he is going to provide a presentation now on kind of the status and where we are with this regulatory amendment.
All right, thank you, Ron.
And actually, Jeff, let me interrupt rudely. I did also want to address, of course, because many of the trucks, probably most of the trucks that operate here are initially purchased outside of California. Federal trucks are very important, and for that reason, we've been working very closely with our partners at US EPA, not only on this measure, but also on all the measures that we're considering related to heavy-duty trucks. The EPA folks were not able to travel here in person for today's meeting, but they are watching the webcast and can email in if folks have any questions or comments directed to them. Matt Spears, the center director, whose folks worked on the Phase 2 regulations and who would be in charge of any NOx, heavy-duty NOx-related rulemaking for EPA, is viewing the webcast. Hi, Matt. Okay, with that, I will hand it off to Jeff.
All right, thanks. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for showing up today to take part in our workshop, and thanks to those watching through the webcast. CARB's goal is to develop an accurate and comprehensive regulation that considers everyone's input, as Ron pointed out, and your participation is essential in making that happen. So again, thank you to everyone here. I'd also like to thank Lindsay and Paul and the rest of the AQMD staff for so graciously accommodating us with the use of this auditorium. Despite our multiple cancellations and rescheduling, you came through, and we are very appreciative. Okay, the purpose of today's presentation is to explain the need for longer emission warranty periods for on-road heavy-duty vehicles and to introduce staff's plans to amend the regulations to make longer warranty periods a reality in California. The adoption of longer warranty periods is the first step in a wide-ranging spectrum of programs to reduce NOx emissions in California. The follow-up low NOx control measures will include lower standards, a low load duty cycle, more appropriate useful life period, enhanced durability requirements, improved not to exceed requirements, and enhanced heavy-duty I&M. However, the focus of today's presentation will be exclusively on the adoption of longer heavy-duty vehicle warranty periods. Help. I was going to address that. Please wait until I'm done with the slide presentation. Thank you. For those participating remotely through the webcast and who wish to comment on staff's proposal, please send an email anytime during the workshop to hdwarrantyworkshop@arb.ca.gov, and hopefully it's working. It is, thank you. We welcome and encourage your participation, which helps us extend outreach beyond just the people in this room. Staff will address any email comments received after the presentation is concluded. And as I just mentioned, I was going to request that all questions be held until the end of the slide presentation. All right. Here's an overview of the topics I'll be covering throughout the presentation. First, I'll explain the existing warranty period requirements for on-road heavy-duty vehicles in the Class 4 through 8 categories, and then I'll explain why these existing warranty periods are no longer appropriate for modern trucks. Next, I'll explain why CARB believes that longer warranty periods are feasible and in many cases are already being offered. After that, I'll introduce staff's proposal to amend the regulations and lengthen existing warranty periods. In conclusion, I'll go over the logistics relating to the upcoming board hearing and provide staff contact information in case follow-up discussions are desired. After that, I'll open up the floor to questions, comments, and what I hope to be an active dialogue on the proposed warranty amendments. There is only a single warranty period requirement for the vast majority of heavy-duty vehicles certified for sale in California, despite the fact that these heavy-duty compression ignition vehicles range from 14,000 pounds to more than 33,000 pounds in gross vehicle weight rating. Heavy-duty vehicles with spark ignition engines, also known as auto cycle engines, have an even shorter warranty period, as we will see on the next slide. California's warranty period requirements for heavy-duty vehicles are codified in Section 2036 of Title 13 of the California Code of Regulations. As mentioned in the previous slide, there is only one warranty period requirement for all heavy-duty compression ignition vehicles and only one separate warranty period requirement for all heavy-duty spark ignition vehicles. California's existing regulations stipulate the warranty period as the first to occur of either 5 years, 100,000 miles, or 3,000 hours for compression ignition heavy-duty vehicles, and 5 years or 50,000 miles for spark ignition heavy-duty vehicles. It's important to note here that hourly warranty limits are only applicable to heavy-duty compression ignition vehicles and are only applicable in California. Here we have a tabular illustration of existing warranty and useful life periods for all heavy-duty vehicles. Staff does not intend to modify useful life periods as part of its proposed warranty amendments, but this table is useful in pointing out that significant discrepancies between warranty and useful life for the various categories of vehicles. For example, while the warranty mileage period for Class 8 heavy-duty vehicles is 100,000 miles, the useful life mileage period is more than 4 times greater at 435,000 miles. Similarly, the useful life period for all auto cycle vehicles is at least twice the warranty period with respect to both mileage and yearly limits. The table also identifies the class designations for heavy-duty vehicles based on gross vehicle weight rating. So why do we need longer warranty periods for heavy-duty vehicles? The primary reason we need longer warranty periods is because they lower emissions, and lower emissions are still needed in many areas of California to comply with national ambient air quality standards and to protect public health. Longer warranty periods may also incentivize manufacturers to design more durable emission control systems. Recent CARB monitoring and testing have shown high end-use malfunction rates for some emissions-related components, both inside and outside of warranty, yet still within useful life. Longer warranty periods are needed in the near term to protect truck owners from unfair future repair costs when faced with stricter PSIP and enhanced heavy-duty I&M programs. Furthermore, the sooner we adopt and implement longer warranty periods, the greater will be the long-term emissions reductions from them. This slide illustrates one of the areas in California where additional reductions in NOx are needed to protect health and for attainment with national ambient air quality standards. As a matter of fact, this slide illustrates the quality of the air that those of us in this auditorium are breathing right now. For ozone, CARB's air quality modeling indicates that total NOx emissions from all sources in the South Coast Air Basin will need to decrease to approximately 96 tons per day in 2031, representing an approximate 80% reduction from current levels. Heavy-duty vehicles and federal sources remain the largest polluters, with heavy-duty vehicles responsible for approximately 33% of statewide mobile source category NOx. In order to meet air quality goals in the South Coast Air Basin, the NOx from heavy-duty vehicles will need to be reduced by another 90% by 2031. As I mentioned previously, the most important benefit from increasing the warranty period is the reduction in NOx emissions. But how exactly does this work? An increase in the warranty period for heavy-duty vehicles will lead to reductions in emissions by incentivizing the repair of malfunctioning emission-related components that heavy-duty vehicle owners would not otherwise fix if they had to pay out of pocket. CARB's emissions modelers estimate that only 30% of heavy-duty vehicle owners will fix problems outside of warranty that do not drastically affect fuel economy or performance. Lengthening warranty means that a large portion of the 70% of owners who do not currently repair emissions-related malfunctions outside of warranty will now effect such repairs in a timely manner, especially when the OBD check engine light is concurrently illuminated. Longer warranty periods also reduce incidences of tampering and malmaintenance. There's little incentive for a vehicle owner to core a DPF or to bypass an SCR when the manufacturer is on the hook to pay for repairs. Owners will also have more of an incentive to perform scheduled maintenance on time so as not to void their extended warranty due to waiting too long for an oil change, for example, or a filter replacement. Longer warranties help to ensure that heavy-duty vehicles remain at or below applicable emission standards longer in use, either through the timely replacement of malfunctioning emission-related components or through the redesign of more durable components. Heavy-duty vehicles will operate cleaner in use for a greater portion of their useful lives than currently warranted vehicles that experience high rates of emission-related failures. Although the link between increased warranty and more durable parts for heavy-duty vehicles may not always be obvious, the increased warranty periods may encourage manufacturers to develop more durable components should the cost of frequent replacements outweigh the cost of redesign. CARB's emissions modelers estimate that a 2.1 tons per day reduction in statewide NOx could occur by 2030 should warranty periods be lengthened to current useful life periods. I mentioned previously that CARB monitoring has shown high in-use malfunction rates for some emissions-related components. Turbochargers in particular are not sufficiently durable and often fail within the warranty period for heavy-duty vehicles. The turbocharger is an integral component on many engines, providing enhanced performance and improved emissions control. Oftentimes, when the turbocharger fails, it damages other downstream systems that affect both emissions and performance, which frequently results in costly repairs. Several stakeholders have expressed concern that turbochargers cannot be made more durable at a reasonable cost. Staff, however, does not see the reasonableness of limiting warranty based on the durability of the least durable component on the vehicle, especially when the vehicle typically remains in service for many multiples of the average turbocharger lifespan. Staff's proposal would likely necessitate replacement or redesign of turbochargers several times over the proposed lengthened warranty requirements for Class 8 vehicles. Staff's proposal to amend the regulations will be explained in greater detail later in the presentation, and further discussion on this particular topic is encouraged during the open discussion portion of the workshop. CARB's emission warranty and monitoring section has seen claim rates for other emission-related components such as diesel particulate filters, EGR components, and fuel injectors as high as 40% during the warranty period for recent model year vehicles. In addition to this, CARB's in-use compliance and truck and bus surveillance sections have reported failure rates in excess of 50% for vehicles tested against the not-to-exceed emission limits and over the UDDS test cycle, with some NOx levels being measured at several times the NOx standard. It's clear that a large portion of heavy-duty vehicles are not remaining durable with respect to emissions performance throughout their useful lives. This provides CARB with the impetus to adopt longer warranty periods now in the short term, with the hope that longer warranty will encourage manufacturers to improve the durability of problematic emission-related components rather than to pay for ongoing replacements throughout the vehicle's useful life. In either case, however, the vehicle will be far more likely to operate cleaner throughout its useful life. An additional reason why longer warranty periods are needed now is to protect truckers from having to pay out-of-pocket expenses to replace emissions-related components that were supposed to be designed by the manufacturer to remain durable throughout the useful life of the engine. The problem will become even more apparent when owners have to comply with anticipated PSIP and heavy-duty I&M program updates. I'll describe those programs in a little more detail on the next slide. Last, but certainly not least, is the fact that the sooner longer warranty periods are adopted, the greater the long-term emission reductions will be. This is extremely important as we look out to California's ozone attainment goals in the 2031 timeframe. The PSIP program stands for Periodic Smoke Inspection Program, is anticipated to begin in 2019 and will require that heavy-duty vehicles equipped with diesel particulate filters comply with a more stringent in-use opacity limit of 5%. Without a lengthened warranty requirement to protect vehicle owners from premature malfunctions that could cause smoke opacity levels to increase above 5%, the owner would be faced to pay out of pocket for repairs to pass the opacity test. It's not fair to require the end user, who for the sake of this argument performed all scheduled maintenance, to spend more money to meet opacity requirements when the vehicle he purchased should have already been made more durable. Similarly, heavy-duty vehicles will be required to meet more comprehensive inspection and maintenance requirements beginning in 2022. Under this enhanced program, any malfunction that illuminates the checked engine light would be required to be repaired. Once again, it's not fair to require the end user who, again, for the sake of this argument, performed all scheduled maintenance on time, as he was required to do, to spend more money to meet I&M requirements when the vehicle he purchased should already be sufficiently durable. Up till now, I've spoken about the need for longer warranty periods to reduce emissions, incentivize more durable components, and to protect the vehicle owner from unfair costs as he complies with future California emission control programs. But is a longer warranty period really feasible? The evidence says yes. If you've been following CARB's regulatory development process to amend the heavy-duty warranty regulations for any length of time now, then you've probably already seen this chart in one form or another. The reason we keep recycling the slide is because it illustrates the discrepancy between warranty, useful life, and real-world longevity for compression ignition vehicles ever so well. Class 8 vehicles provide the most striking comparison, with real-world longevity from 8 to 12 times the current warranty mileage obligation based on B10 and B50 statistics. The B10 and B50 statistics are provided by the manufacturer as a gauge to predict when 10% or 50% respectively of an engine family will need a major overhaul. In other words, B10 represents when 90% of an engine family is still in service, and B50 represents when 50% of an engine family is still in service. For Class 8 vehicles, the average life expectancy of an engine family in which half of the vehicles sold are still in service with original engines is 1.2 million miles. Clearly, the information in this chart demonstrates that not only are longer warranties feasible for modern heavy-duty vehicles, they are necessary to ensure that emission levels remain in check, commensurate with the greater portion of time these vehicles remain in service. In addition to the case made by the B10 and B50 statistics for longer warranty feasibility, staff has consulted with heavy-duty vehicle manufacturers, emissions control system manufacturers, US EPA, third-party warranty provider, and the Institute for Social Research in trying to determine both the practicality and feasibility of lengthening the warranty period for heavy-duty vehicles. The data received have significantly shaped staff's proposal, the highlights of which are listed in this slide. Of particular interest regarding the feasibility of lengthening the warranty period is that many heavy-duty vehicles are sold brand new by the dealer with extended warranties reaching all the way to 5 years and 500,000 miles, sometimes without additional cost to the purchaser. Additionally, at least one independent heavy-duty vehicle repair provider offers warranties all the way up to 1 million miles. Preliminary results from a survey of California truckers commissioned by CARB and conducted by the California Institute for Social Research generally confirm the information provided by the other stakeholders, including that on average 40% of all new heavy-duty vehicles greater than 14,000 pounds come equipped with warranties at least equal to useful life. Based on the data collected by staff, there appears no impediment to lengthening warranty significantly beyond the existing 100,000-mile requirement. In fact, separate warranties for after-treatment systems are already offered by dealers and independents alike. A key difference between California and federal heavy-duty compression ignition vehicle warranty requirements is that California regulations include a provision to limit warranty coverage based on hours of operation in addition to years or miles traveled. The original intent of limiting warranty coverage on the basis of hours of operation was to prevent an unduly burdensome certification requirement for vocational vehicles, such as refuse haulers, that may be operated 8 hours a day and 5 days a week, but that do not accumulate mileage nearly as quickly as other heavy-duty vehicles, such as line haul trucks. Such vocational applications, which may only accumulate 15,000 miles per year, would not reach the 100,000-mile warranty limit for over 6 years compared to the average line haul truck that accumulates 122,500 miles per year and falls out of the 100,000-mile warranty within the first year of ownership. However, manufacturers of engines for vocational applications have still been able to successfully certify vocational vehicles federally, despite US EPA not offering an hourly limit for warranty coverage. It appears that in most cases, the existing 5-year limit is the deciding factor for when the vocational engine manufacturer is no longer liable to cover the cost of repairs. Therefore, CARB staff is proposing that the 3,000-hour limit no longer be applicable under California's amended warranty period provisions for heavy-duty vehicles. This elimination should not present a burden to vocational vehicle manufacturers in that the amended yearly warranty period will not be extended beyond the current 5-year coverage. Therefore, vocational vehicle warranties in California would be decided in most cases by the same yearly warranty periods that already dictate warranty duration federally for vocational heavy-duty vehicles. To better understand the cost and coverage structure of warranties for heavy-duty vehicles, CARB hired the Sacramento Institute for Social Research to conduct a survey of truckers and repair facilities in California. The surveying began earlier this year with approximately 500 truck owners and operators sampled by ISR, and with an additional 100 dealers and repair facilities currently in the process of providing responses. I need to point out at this point that an earlier version of the presentation indicated that 200 dealers and repair facilities were being surveyed, but the true number of targeted respondents should be 100, as indicated in this slide. Some of the sources used in creating the sample pool were databases from the Department of Motor Vehicles, CARB's own Truckers and CARL databases, and the California Highway Patrol's MISTERS database. Other sources were obtained by the contractor independently. Examples of some of the questions asked in the survey include: how many trucks do you own? Who is the manufacturer of your truck? When was the truck manufactured? When did you purchase the truck? Are you satisfied with the 100,000-mile warranty? Do you have an extended warranty? How much did you pay for the extended warranty? How many additional miles, years does your warranty cover? What does your warranty cover? Parts, labor, what kind of parts? After treatment? Have you experienced downtime because of repairs? How much have you paid out of pocket for repairs? Who provided the extended warranty? What should be the mandatory warranty period for heavy-duty vehicles? How much revenue was lost due to downtime? And more. The survey data are still under review at this time, but a final report will be available in the near future with a complete listing of questions and detailed analyses of responses and results. The staff report for the warranty rulemaking will also include a section devoted to the survey and its findings. Staff's proposal to amend the warranty regulations is relatively straightforward in that it simply lengthens the mileage periods for both compression ignition and spark ignition heavy-duty vehicles, as described in the next few slides. The most significant change since development of the warranty amendments began is that CARB is no longer proposing to modify the emissions warranty and information reporting requirements at this time. Changes to those regulations will be presented to the board at a future date when staff simultaneously proposes more stringent NOx standards and useful life requirements. The applicability of staff's proposal is limited to new engines only. There will be no modifications to in-use warranty requirements or to the warranty period specific to heavy-duty vehicles subject to greenhouse gas standards. Staff's proposal would apply to California certified engines only. Federal engines operating in California will not be subject to the new warranty requirements. The warranty period amendments are applicable to both compression ignition and spark ignition heavy-duty vehicles with a gross vehicle weight rating greater than 14,000 pounds. All warranty periods, regardless of the fuel category or classification, will become equal to useful life. The proposed warranty requirements would only be applicable to model year 2022 and subsequent model year heavy-duty vehicles. As mentioned previously, only the length of the warranty periods will be amended via this rulemaking, and existing EWIR, which stands for Emissions Warranty Information Reporting, provisions will not be modified. However, many staff may use this opportunity to clarify existing language and correct typos in grammar for any part of the existing warranty requirements. Staff is proposing to lengthen the warranty periods for Class 4 through 8 heavy-duty vehicles in a two-step process. The reason for setting warranty periods in two steps is because California statute prohibits adopting warranty periods that exceed useful life. Therefore, CARB cannot set the most optimal warranty periods for Class 4 through 8 heavy-duty vehicles until it first lengthens useful life, which isn't scheduled to be proposed for adoption until 2019. Nevertheless, significant NOx reductions can be achieved by adopting warranty periods equal to existing useful life for Class 4 through 8 heavy-duty vehicles in 2017, rather than waiting until later to amend both warranty and useful life at the same time. This will be step one of the warranty lengthening requirements. By 2030, the benefit from adopting Step 1 requirements in 2017 with full implementation in 2022 is estimated to be a 2.1 tons per day reduction in statewide NOx. Staff is proposing not to alter the 5-year warranty limit, but rather to eliminate the 3,000 hourly limit altogether. As mentioned previously, elimination of the hourly limit should not present a burden to vocational vehicle manufacturers in that the yearly warranty period will not be extended beyond the current 5-year coverage, which already dictates warranty duration federally for vocational heavy-duty vehicles. To increase emission benefits further and to afford additional protection to consumers, staff intends to propose a second step of warranty lengthening requirements in 2019, with implementation taking place in 2024 to complement the longer useful life periods that will also be proposed at that time. The second step of amendments is expected to further reduce NOx emissions and incentivize more durable emission control systems and components, thus further reducing the cost burdens on heavy-duty vehicle owners. These longer warranty and useful life periods would be proposed together with lower NOx standards, streamlined durability requirements, enhanced EWIR provisions, improved not-to-exceed requirements, and a more comprehensive heavy-duty inspection and maintenance program in 2019. Here's a summary of the modified regulatory language based on Step 1 of staff's warranty lengthening proposal. In short, the new compression ignition warranty period for Class 4 through 5 heavy-duty vehicles would be either 110,000 miles or 5 years, whichever first occurs. The new warranty period for Class 6 through 7 heavy-duty vehicles would be either 185,000 miles or 5 years, whichever first occurs. And the new warranty period for Class 8 heavy-duty vehicles would be either 435,000 miles or 5 years, whichever first occurs. The new warranty period for heavy-duty auto cycles is less complicated in that all classes would have a warranty period requirement of either 110,000 miles or 5 years, whichever first occurs. If you didn't already get it, a handout is available on the back table outside the auditorium with the proposed amended regulatory language, including markup. As it stands right now, we are scheduled to propose amendments to the on-road heavy-duty warranty regulations this December in Sacramento, California, at the usual location, the Cal EPA headquarters building. But as always, board dates are subject to change, so keep an eye peeled for listserv announcements related to the warranty rulemaking. If you haven't already done so, I strongly encourage all stakeholders to subscribe to the HD Low NOx listserv from the ARB website homepage. Information on that is included on the notice, but if anybody needs additional information, talk to me or call me. Okay. Before I yield the floor and open the workshop up for a general discussion, there are a couple questions I was hoping to ask to start the ball rolling. And this is directed to the audience and anybody participating remotely, so please chime in at this point. Is any additional outreach recommended? We've had meetings that suggested we speak with the independent repair folks. We've reached out to them. Is there anyone else that anybody here thinks that we might have missed and that we need to extend this to? Okay, if you do, if you do have information or if you do have a comment on that, please submit it to me or any one of us. And the second point here, and I touched on this during the presentation, how should turbocharger durability be addressed? Okay, we're being told that they generally last, what, 100 to 120,000 miles in use. We're seeing a lot of failures even below that, I think, under warranty. We're certainly open for comments on how to address that issue. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, I'm not sure it makes sense to set warranty based on the least durable component, which might be the turbocharger. So how do we address that? Do we require it to be replaced periodically? Anyway, we're looking for comments, suggestions, if anybody has those. Okay. Paul, can you go back to that last slide? Okay, and then the other question I had, if anybody has an answer, alternative proposals. Is there something that we can be doing better? Is there something that we're doing wrong? We'd like to hear about it.
Warranty coverage? Would that be a basic warranty coverage?
It's a mandatory coverage that the manufacturer has to take care of. Yeah, it would be a base coverage for emission-related components.
So that would fall under basic coverage when you went to the manufacturer to order a vehicle, is what California's proposing?
I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
When you purchase a new vehicle, you're offered basic coverage, which is pretty much your 100,000. Would this fall as a basic coverage?
Yes.
Okay, so the 435, 5 years.
Yes.
Okay,
For the
thank
Class
you.
8.
And sir, could we ask for your name and affiliation? And that would just be great if folks could give that as they begin their comment or question.
My name is Steve Thomason, a fleet manager for Valley Bulk Trucking.
Thank you. And could I ask, so what's your initial reaction? Like, if you look at this, do you think this would be something that would be helpful for you, or what do you think?
The biggest cost to us is the cost of the vehicle, obviously. The next biggest cost is the downtime. 20 years ago, my fleet probably ran about 2% was down to 1%. Now I'm looking anywhere from 10 to 15% down, and it's usually related to the smog equipment. Thank you.
So then is your thought that if these warranty requirements did end up over time making parts more durable, that would cut down time and that would be a benefit for you? Is that what you're thinking?
Absolutely. Any time you could cut down costs to us. I mean, the original manufactured vehicle has gone up close to, in our fleet, my fleet alone, probably 40 to 50,000 per vehicle. Let alone the cost and maintenance of the after treatment. The turbocharger failures on itself is in line with what we've always dealt with, but it's downstream contamination that gets very costly. You're looking at a DEF system that if you lose a turbo, you're looking at a $15,000 bill to replace, you know, a DEF system.
Hi, Tim French with the Truck and Engine Manufacturers Association. Oh, there's a little delay here. It's kind of like a reverb thing. 70s concert. So addressing some of these issues about what should we be doing, do we have an alternative proposal? One thing that we did, we tried to gather information for submission to CARB staff about current typical base warranties for these various categories of heavy-duty on-highway vehicles and current extended warranty packages and what might be most popular in the marketplace. And generally what we found is consistent with what you presented, that for heavy, high mileage vehicles, base warranties are in fact 5 years, 250,000 miles. Now that's not true for vocational vehicles, buses, other applications that don't accumulate mileage at a fairly accelerated rate. So that's not true there. In terms of extended warranties, again, for high mileage vehicles, I think you're correct. Many of them do go out to 500,000 miles, which is actually even beyond full useful life right now. But there's a price to be paid for that, and approximately only 50% of purchasers, you may reference 40%, but roughly 50% of purchasers are incurring that extra cost. Under your proposal right now, all vehicle purchasers would end up incurring that additional cost. And right now, that additional cost for an extended warranty taking you out to full useful life is based on our assessment, pooling some data, mostly published data, is not less than $7,000 per vehicle. Now that's not a fully loaded cost. As you may well expect, many manufacturers provide some kind of incentive such that the fully loaded cost isn't passed through. They may have insurance programs or ways to offset some of those risks. But if it's a regulatory mandate, the much more fully loaded cost could be passed through to your customers here. And again, it's not appropriate even for lower mileage vehicles to begin with. But one outcome that you need to think about is if you have a cost delta now for a new vehicle in California versus everywhere else in the United States that hypothetically is $10,000, what's that going to do to your vehicle turnover rate here in the state? How does that really advance your long-term goals? And so when you talk to and conduct your surveys, you need to make sure that the people responding to the survey know that, hey, an extended warranty would be great, but make sure they understand that that's not free, right? Make sure that they, hey, hypothetically, it's going to cost $10,000 more per vehicle. How do you feel about that? Because maybe a current repair rate cost managed is less than that. Anyway, those are some key points from our perspective. So our proposal is extend the warranties across the board to current base warranties, which are significantly higher than existing emission warranties now. Extend them to prevailing base warranties, which are 2.5 times more for many classes than you're seeing under your current regs. And do the modeling under that scenario. What's your tons per day benefit under that kind of a scenario where instead of 435, you're at 250? Also articulate what's your tons per day benefit here in the South Coast as opposed to statewide. Statewide, you are not in non-attainment for ozone. And in fact, even San Joaquin is modeled to be within attainment out to 2031. What does it do here in the South Coast? That's what's driving attainment determinations. The other thing that I think would be interesting to know about is these benefits that you're ascribing to extended emission warranties, how do they compare to the benefits for the underlying OBD program? Are you ascribing ton per day benefits to OBD programs going out into the future? Is this an additive, this 2.1 tons per day, is that an additive to OBD? Or really, as I think you've articulated previously, OBD doesn't generate any additional benefits, it just ensures that the benefits of other programs are realized. Well, if extended warranties are really effective at getting these kinds of reductions, maybe as we think about regs in the future, we ought to be focusing on things like this and moving back towards, not back towards, forward to a much more functional diagnostic OBD program as opposed to a program now that is triggered off of 300 to 400 monitoring systems. Anyway, I think it'd be interesting to drill down and see how you calculated the ton per day benefits and how this overlay of an extended warranty supersedes what you are ascribing to the OBD program. A couple other points that maybe you can note and respond so I don't hog the mic. In the presentation, you talk about failure rates that are greater than 100%. I'm wondering what that really means. How do you calculate that? How do you translate that? I'm assuming that that does not mean that greater than 100% of the vehicles driving around have failures. I'm no mathematician, but that seems to be impossible. So I'd like, how do you do that? The other thing, the 40% failure rate for DPFs and other components, I'd like to know how you calculate that. We've done a survey of 2013 and later model year vehicles. Certainly they're still within warranty periods as we've discussed, but those failure rates are dramatically lower, order of magnitude lower than what you're talking about. So we clearly have a disconnect in terms of rates and impacts. And then we can talk further about the some of the other rationales for the need for this, including the NTE testing of vehicles, the heavy-duty in-use testing of vehicles where you're seeing some failure rates. It's my understanding that those vehicles may not have been tested fully consistent with the in-use testing program in terms of testing them as they're typically operated by the fleet owner, et cetera. So it'd be nice to hear a little bit more about what that actually is and actually isn't. So we can talk about it more. Perhaps we'll submit our comments in writing as well. We do think there's a few more iterations we should go through on this. We do think there's room to expand the warranty program, but we encourage you to be careful not to necessarily push it all the way out to the limit because you're going to significantly impact the pricing of vehicles here in California.
Well, I think we can respond to, thank you so much, Tim. I think we can respond to a number of those thoughts. First of all, I appreciate you guys bringing up creative ideas, and I do think there's probably something we could explore regarding trying not to extend warranties excessively for vehicles that really aren't used that many miles, because our intent is not to just increase the cost of vehicles for no benefit. Like, that just would harm everyone. But one thing, I did want to respond on one thing that you said, which was sort of acknowledging that, many manufacturers are already offering warranties well beyond base warranties, well beyond the minimum, like 100,000 mile. And I think you were proposing, what if you just put the regulatory minimum more right around where those current warranties are being offered? And I think what we would probably say to that is, that's definitely a step in the right direction, but we don't think we'd see any emission benefits if we just adjust the requirement up to what the current baseline is. So that probably wouldn't be sufficient in our minds, although it definitely, is moving the right way. You're right. There's folks on the webcast, so just hold that thought. Okay.
And good point, but the only thing I would say in response to that is perhaps the modeling that was done is assuming that repairs get done under the warranty period to 100,000 miles. And I'm saying that if we had it crystal clear that extended warranties were all the way out to 250,000 miles, that would make an impact on the tons per day benefit that we're talking about. I would submit that our alternative proposal would yield still meaningful ton per day benefit, because I think the current modeling is premised on 100,000.
Maybe, I don't know if Jeff or if Lee would like to address that. I believe we actually did provide data on, that you guys graciously provided to us on the base warranties that are offered that extend beyond 100,000. I believe that was built into our analysis.
Tim, just simply answer your question. That 2.01 tons per day reflect like 40% to the useful life and about 70% of the heavy Class A to 250. That's a revised number. Thank you.
And Lee, can you also address how you guys sort of did the accounting for benefits that are attributed to the OBD program versus benefits that would be attributed to these warranty amendments?
For the OPD, that was the INFACT 2014 assumption. Basically, for the 2010 to 2012, which are not equivalent the OBD, so it's the baseline. And now 2013 plus, we applied about 30% discount to the emissions deterioration to reflect that the OBD for the OBD reg.
And then, so these benefits aren't double counting that, right? Like, that's already sort of baked into the base?
Right, no, it's by its own.
And
Excuse
also,
me.
I'd just like to point out, akin to what we're talking about the inventory reflecting that 40 to 50% are already meeting 500,000 miles. It would be the same thing, Tim, with cost. You know, you were saying everyone's going to have to experience greater cost. Well, 40 to 50% of people are already paying for these extended warranties or getting them some other way. So it's not everybody who's going to be subject to a new cost.
Hey, Jeff? Jeff?
Yes.
Larry Waluda here,
Oh,
Premium 2000. I'd like to make a few comments, one on your slide with regards to the after treatment. You had 40% up there failure rate. We're actually seeing a larger number than that, up to 90%. So say, for example, we have a 24-month warranty on a vehicle, and the after treatment components, within that time period, 90% of them will fail, and it might even be greater than that. So that number might be a little light. With regards to costs on the warranties, the gentleman mentioned $10,000 for the cost of an extended warranty, and that's on the high side as well. Some of the warranties are significantly less than that. That would cover the engine and the after-treatment components up to the useful life of those vehicles. So that could be factored into some of your calculations as well.
thank you, appreciate that, Larry.
And same thing with the turbo on the critical components. The other point I want to make is in our warranties, a lot of times there are requirements for maintenance, 20, 25,000, 35,000 oil change requirements, as well as filters and whatnot. And those can actually be monitored via GPS diagnostics, data that can come off the CAN bus in the ECM. So just as a note.
Appreciate that.
No, Larry, thank you. I have another question for you then.
Sure.
So you mentioned the fact that maintenance is monitored. Is that something new, or is that something, what is the trend as far as monitoring maintenance?
Well, right now, there's a lot of the OEMs are monitoring their vehicles through the ECM, and they have fault codes that are kicked out. There is technology where we can incorporate that technology into tracking the vehicles and kicking out fault codes in maintaining the vehicles and the integrity of the components. It's out there today. We're exploring that, as a matter of fact. We've looked at it. But the maintenance requirements right now that we have, 20, 25,000 mile oil changes, it's up to the operator to do those maintenance cycles.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Question here for Dave Peach with CNH FPT.
just want to follow up. The gentleman that was speaking, was that in regards to providing aftermarket warranties?
The last speaker, yes.
Yes, okay. Can I follow up on that? Is one question, I heard required to maintenance. So if a customer does not do the oil change at 25,000 miles, what happens on that coverage if a failure happens?
If a failure happens, and one of the first things we do, or actually the first thing, is we ask for the maintenance records of the vehicle. Oil changes are a must, as are the filters. And if that is not conducted in the time frame and documented as such, the warranty is not in effect.
If I can offer thank you for that information. That actually is not the appropriate way to manage original OEM warranties. You have to go through a warranty process, and unless you show malmaintenance or mismaintenance, and that warranty administration is then different. So I think that needs to be assumed through the calculations for CARB, because that clearly is different from an administration standpoint for post or aftermarket warranties. I did have a couple questions specifically regarding the presentation. Page 14, in regards to the B10 and B50, can you define what components are covered under your definition of B10 or B50 for the determination of the miles before rebuild?
Well, the B10 numbers are not CARB numbers, they're industry-provided numbers, and I believe typically they don't include after-treatment, if that's what you're getting at. It's typically the mechanical components of the engine, injectors, stuff like that, but not typically after-treatment.
Actually, I would suggest that the research and definition needs to be included. A B10 or B50 is essentially anything that does not include components that can be replaced without removing the heads or dropping the oil pan. So anything that's hanging on or that can be easily accessed, such as injectors, can be replaced, such as turbochargers or EGR valves that can be replaced. Those are not included in the B10 or B50. The B10 or B50 generally refer to the core mechanical components of the engine and not these other add-on components. And again, that's very important from a design standpoint of what the core engine is. So an after-treatment component would not be a core component such as a B10 or B50.
Okay. Fair enough. The definitions I've seen basically are when major engine overhaul or replacement is required. So I'm not going to disagree with you. I think you're probably on the right track. With that said, there are manufacturers that do provide extended warranties for the after-treatment devices as well.
And I'm not disputing that. I'm just asking for
Sure.
the definition of the B10 and B50 in the representation.
Sure.
So the representation on the slide essentially is that the core engine and not these other secondary components from the industry would have that expected useful life to that point.
Right, but we do have input from MECA on the slide, or MECA members that say the filters and the SCRs are designed to last 1 million miles. So that could be added into the discussion as well.
Actually, to follow that up, because I did notice that, is do the engineering, does MECA members provide 1 million miles warranty to those components if they quote unquote can be maintained or operated until that period of time?
Yeah, I don't think MECA provides warranty to consumers at all, but I mean, it's a valid question.
I would remind CARB that when they went into the aftermarket business with the DPFs back in the early 2000s, that specifically the extended warranties only to 150,000 miles on DPFs at that point in time, which were diesel exhaust control devices. Actually,
force the aftermarket parts makers out of the business for a period of time. The
Sir,
last-
I just want to ask, could you give me your name and your affiliation?
My name is Dave Peach with CNH FPT.
Okay.
And again, I'm talking about the diesel exhaust filters that were made back in 2000, aftermarket parts.
Thank you.
The last question, then I'll let other people talk. On page 11, it was noted, the first bullet, heavy-duty trucks are already, quote, required, unquote, to remain durable through the engine's useful life, but that's not happening. Can you explain that comment in regards to allowable maintenance, replacement, and other things of specific components that are allowed under regulations under 40 CFR 86.004-25B4 for heavy-duty diesel engines?
Yeah, I don't have a list of components in front of me that are allowed for replacement. I think what we were talking about were turbochargers, and I'm not sure, I don't believe DPFs are allowed to be replaced. I don't think SCR is allowed to be replaced. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, there are different components requiring different, and actually parts of those components that may or may not be replaced. For example, there's a minimum replacement period for turbochargers, EGR valves, other things like that, depending on the engine classification size. The point being here is that the regulations already, and these are not only federal regulations, but also CARB regulations that have adopted the federal regulations. These regulations already incorporate the concept that these components will fail or may fail at a period of time and can be replaced. They can actually be replaced on as needed basis by a unexpected failure, or they can actually be scheduled to be replaced at those periods of time. If you need to replace it earlier, then you have to go through a actual regulatory process to get either replacement, maintenance, or other things done, which has been very rarely done by the industry or in the history that I'm aware of.
So just for clarification, the replacement is done at the consumer's cost.
The replacement is done no earlier than a certain period of time. If the replacement is done during a warranty period, it would be done, of course, at the whoever provides the warranty, the OEM or otherwise. If it's replaced after the warranty period, it would be done at the owner-operator's cost.
Thank you.
And actually, before you pass that microphone away, could I ask you to clarify a bit? At the beginning of your comment, you were specifying that you think the way maintenance is handled under manufacturer warranties is different than how maintenance, how Larry described that maintenance is handled under these extended warranties that folks purchase from him. Can you explain more what that difference is, please?
For example, if as an OEM, if a manufacturer, a owner, while there may be a listed oil change interval, if the owner-operator misses that oil change interval by 1 mile, as an example, just for example purposes, 25,000 is a oil change interval. If a oil change interval is missed at 25,001 miles, for an OEM, that would not be a relevant item to reject the warranty performance on a later component if it such fails. As I would understand the secondary aftermarket warranty, if the oil change doesn't happen at 25,000 miles or earlier, as I understand it, that would void then any component failures, any warranty work that would later be done. I heard the requirement that it must be done, and I heard that it was required, the word that it was required to be done. In an OEM world, if you get a little variance on that, that is not a reason to disallow a warranty coverage.
And is there specific language on that? Like, I assume in the case where someone had done no oil changes, like you guys would say, well, that's not appropriate, we shouldn't be required to cover that, situation. So how is the distinction made if it's not just exactly 1 mile over?
Again, it would be variance. You would have to show that proximate cause of not doing an oil change was approximate cause of the component failure, such as the turbocharger or other failure, but that is a very lengthy process. And again, you would have to show that as a OEM to disallow the warranty. What I'm hearing from the secondary market, and I will say anecdotally, personally, and this is on an automotive, not on a heavy-duty vehicle, I've had that occurrence occurred, and I found that the secondary market warranties have not been as expected. It's, while the warranty is offered, while the coverage is offered, the actual acceptance and coverage may be different than what is offered. And that's anecdotal from just myself, but again, that's how an OEM would manage it through a warranty process.
Thank you. And then actually, so before you pass it away again, so one of the questions we had on slide 23 that we wanted to throw out to the audience and see if you guys might be able to help us is one of the impacts that we have been thinking about is one that you mentioned, where I think you were saying, gosh, in the light duty situation when the regulatory agencies extended the mandatory warranty period, that caused some aftermarket parts businesses to lose business, potentially go out of business. So we've been thinking of the similar situation here is that if our proposed amendments pushed more truck owners to take their broken truck to the dealer to get warranty repairs versus going to an independent shop, that could potentially have an impact. And we've been looking for how we could reach out to independent repair shops to make sure they are aware of what we're proposing and make sure that, everybody understands what the impacts might be. And we haven't had a great deal of success finding trade groups that represent them or finding, a quick, convenient way of reaching those folks. So I wanted to see if folks in the room have suggestions for how we should do that.
Well, think about it and send it
Hey,
to one of us.
excuse me. My name's Jeff. I'm with Diesel Exhaust and Emissions. We started doing aftermarket retrofits back in 03, 05, 04. We also rebuilt turbos. We're totally affected by this. The OEMs and the DPF manufacturers and the turbocharger manufacturers do not release parts for 10 to 15 years. So we're unable to assist customers outside the warranty period. They're keeping these proprietary. Right now, several of my aftermarket DPF retrofit companies are offering OEM replacement DPF DOCs, a fraction of the price of the manufacturers, but CARB will not allow these for sale in California. I can sell them outside of California, but I cannot sell them. So most of the owner-operators that are having an emissions issue choose not to fix it or do anything because the cost is prohibitive, and going to a dealership, I've heard it's a 1 to 2, 3 week wait period. So again, we are the companies you're talking about. We've done probably 6,000 to 7,000 retrofits. Of those, the majority, probably in excess of 90%, work fine. I have never had a manufacturer accept a warranty. There's always a loophole. And we're hearing the same thing from the OEMs, whether he didn't have a rain cap, whether he cleaned it after 6 months instead of the 4-month period. There's just no such thing as, we'll warranty that. I've only seen it once in our, 12 years of retrofit businesses. So, thank you.
Thanks. And one other thought, we do have a sign-in sheet that was on the table on the left as folks walked in. A number of you would love to be able to follow up, so if you could either make sure you sign up on that sign-in sheet or give us a card personally, that would be really appreciated.
We received a couple questions online, so let me go ahead and read them and see if we can answer them. First one is from Mr. Mark Miller from Volvo. Question: one important point to note is that though some owners may see a reduction in cost, Most will see an increase. As an OEM, we will have to adjust our warranty surcharge to account for a longer warranty period. Those owners who experience a failure outside of the current warranty period, but within the extended period, would see a cost reduction under a longer warranty period. Owners who do not have a failure would still incur the higher warranty surcharge. So that was just a comment. Okay, next one is from Mr. Mike Tunnell. Francine, you said it was ATA? Thank you. And he asks, are any California certified new vehicles sold by dealerships located outside the state? If so, is ARB seeking to enforce these requirements on out-of-state dealerships' sales? And it's a good question. Not sure we have a firm answer. My thinking is that if it's certified to the California requirements, if we've issued an EO for it, then California dealership would be under warranty. I mean, not dealership, manufacturer under our new proposal would be under obligation to fix it under warranty, even though it may be operated outside of state, but
But we'll follow up with
yeah,
with
that's
legal.
my current thinking. We'll follow up on that.
Yeah, and speaking of following up, we are currently scheduled for a December board date, and we expect we'll at least have another one of our work group meetings between now and then. If there's sufficient issues and interest, we may possibly have another a workshop. So we'll at least bring the answer to that question to the work group meeting.
Excuse me. Joe Rekovets up here, Western States Trucking Association. I have a question and a couple of comments. On your ISR survey of 500 truck owners, do you know what the average fleet size? When you say truck owners, it almost sounds like it's individual truck owners. I'm assuming it's fleets.
I'd have to go back to the contractor to figure that out. Trying to remember if there was a question specific to whether or not they belong to a fleet. There were questions about how many trucks the respondent owned, but I'm not sure if there was one specific about fleets, but I'd have to double check on that.
Well, truck owner is obviously going to be a fleet, whether it's 1 or 1,000. And the reason I'm asking the question is that if in the methodology you've overrepresented, say, a large fleet response, you're probably going to have a different response rate compared to the smaller segment of the industry in terms of your responses. You know, you can look at ATRI, American Transportation Research Institute, where they, you know, consistently put out 97% of truck fleets in the U.S. have 20 or fewer trucks in their fleet. California's numbers pretty closely match that. So if you have an average fleet size, say, of 50, I'm just going to suggest you're probably getting a different response rate than if you properly, you know.
Okay, appreciate that. We'll look into it. I don't believe that the surveys targeted fleets. You know, they targeted individuals, you know, based on DMV information and what was in our other databases. But it's a valid point. We'll look into it.
Yeah. My other statement, comment is, you know, related to the EMA representative's suggestion of going to, say, 250,000 miles, you know. You mentioned that's a step in the right direction, but the thing that would keep from happening is protecting especially small business people who buy in the secondary market. And what I mean by that is there's certainly fleets that are going to dump their trucks shortly after they're out of warranty, and it goes to the small business side. So, you know, CARB's proposal at 435, it's called, I know there's a representative from Volvo who just mentioned increased cost, some winners, some losers. There's another way of looking at it. It's called shared risk.
Thank you. Okay, we have unless anybody else, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was giving Joe a thumbs up on his last comment, I'm with Premium 2000. In fact, the owner, we're in North Carolina. We settle about 700 plus or minus claims a month. Quite a bit of California business. There's a couple of things I think that should be considered. one of the things, the maintenance requirements. There are OEMs now that have kicked their maintenance requirements up to 50,000 miles, which I think is ridiculous, honestly. In the competition to sell engines, they figure the longer you can stretch the maintenance intervals out, the more competitive you'll be. I disagree with that. And I also would give some thought to maybe mandating synthetic lubricant products as opposed to the carbon-based. So, you know, we've talked with CARB somewhat and give some statistics and that sort of thing. I think you guys are definitely going in the right direction. I think there's a lot of things to consider here. I don't think cost is necessarily one of them. And the thumbs up with Joe was, first of all, it's not $10,000 to buy an extended warranty, especially for the useful life that you guys are describing. And secondly, it's an insurance type product. So we don't know who's gonna have the failure. He may pay $2,000 and get $20,000 worth of benefit. The next guy may pay $2,000 and get no benefit. But that's what insurance is all about. So, thank you.
Thank you for that.
Tim French with EMA again. A couple points just on the cost issue. What we reported is roughly $7,000 for the cost of the heavy vehicle warranties that go out to 500,000 miles. What I also said was that cost today may not be fully loaded and reflect an OEM's actual cost, which could be higher. When I mentioned a higher number, it's because we're talking about regs that are going to come into effect in 2022, and when we don't fully know whether there will be additional complexities added on to the underlying vehicle. So we're giving ourselves a little bit of headroom. Bottom line is, it's going to be a material cost, and we need to understand what impact that's going to have on all owners, on all fleets, and rates of turnover when you're not looking at a program that's matched by a 49-state program on the other side of your borders. So I think that's a significant issue. The other thing about cost and other impacts is one point that EMA has tried to make repeatedly is that we think this rulemaking is somewhat out of sequence, that we have tried to argue that really we ought to get to the issue of warranties and extended coverage and durability issues when we have a more fully fleshed out low NOx program that we're dealing with presumably closer to 2019, when we see what the underlying standards might look like, when we see what additional load cycles or duty cycles might look like, when we see what additional in-use requirements look like, when we see what future optimization strategies might be targeting in terms of components, in-use performance, et cetera. So in that regard, in your presentation, you have a statement on page 11 that says lengthening warranty now does not impede future standards. And I'm wondering how you know that, because there are going to be cost impacts from any of this. Those cost impacts will certainly not go down when we get to the end of the road in terms of what the low NOx package is. There are feasibility issues, there are lead time issues if you are driving regulations that in your own assessment are driving the design and manufacture of more durable components. How long is that going to take? So I think when you make that statement, lengthening warranty now does not impede future standards, I'm certainly not sure I understand how you can say that.
Well, the point we're trying to make is that the warranty lengthening we're doing now is for existing technology and existing duty cycles and existing standards. When we do change those standards in 2019, then that'll be step 2 that I mentioned during the presentation. and that's when we will revisit warranty again to make sure it makes sense in light of new lower standards and low load test cycles and the other measures that you mentioned.
One other thing that we've been thinking about, because we definitely have talked extensively with you guys about that, and we totally understand that you would prefer that we not do this rulemaking at this time, and you'd prefer we just address warranty in a couple years when we address lower standards. So we totally hear you, and we've thought a lot about this. And I think part of what convinced us that, no, I think we really do need to go forward now is that the technologies that we're envisioning that may be used to meet a lower NOx standard aren't like radically different from the technologies that are used today. So, if more work is needed to make turbochargers better or DPFs better or, I don't know, other parts better, those parts are still going to be used on the trucks that meet whatever future standard we have. It's not like we think there's going to be some totally different technology with completely different parts, and we're going to force you guys to spend all this effort on a technology that's really defunct. We think it's whatever changes the new standards will drive would be evolutionary rather than revolutionary. So in other words, we don't think any work you guys put into making the after treatment systems more durable is going to be wasted at all. We think it's going to reap benefits for today's trucks that meet the 2010 standards and for future trucks that are required to be even cleaner.
Hi, I'm Ray Agama with Caterpillar. Just a question, probably for you, Jeff, on the proposed extended warranty, if it goes forward, whether it's 250 or 500,000 miles. Does that basically take for example, the Premium 2000 out of being able to offer extended warranty because now the OEMs have to offer it?
The OEM does have to offer, is required to pay for the maintenance, but whether they subcontract out to somebody like Premium 2000, that's not off the table.
And maybe while there's a lull here, one other issue that's come up, and that's a really good one, is, hey, wait a second, the trucks that are used in California come from all over the place. And if you put in place stricter warranty requirements and that raises the cost of trucks in California, are you just going to be shifting purchases outside the state or even impeding the turnover of trucks inside the state? And that's, it's a real concern, and we've been thinking a lot about that. And in our sort of ideal world, we would be adopting this at the very same time as US EPA adopting this, and this would be a national program. They are not able to move forward with us at the same pace, and we feel like for the reasons that Jeff laid out, that we really need to move fast in California. But we're trying really hard to make sure that the EPA staff are really closely involved with this, and our hope is that when they are able to move forward with a low NOx rulemaking, for example, that they would, that they'll be providing their input now, and that the package we jointly come up with is one that they could propose federally. So definitely the long-term idea we have is that those requirements would be uniform nationally.
Hi, this is Lisa with San Diego Airport Parking Company. The heavy-duty rulemaking for expensive parts and warranties, I can see the need for it. What some of the questions I have and concerns are, I have and am a diesel fleet operator as well as a ZEV. I'm kind of curious, Kim, as to, we're moving forward clearly in ARB in California to support zero-emission vehicles. We're also moving forward on the heavy-duty GHG Phase 2 program that includes heavy-duty with 2B vehicles and above. And so one of my first thoughts is how we're going to be encompassing the existing technology that includes the heavy-duty Class 2B and above, as well as ZEVs, since that's one of the directions that is part of the ARB technology programs. And because as you move into these other technologies, whether the failure rate's based off of a DPF or whether it's based off of a powertrain, Those would be some of the examples that are still failure rates, there are still expensive parts, they're affecting zero emission technology, and the vehicles are completely proprietary protected. There is no access to any code. There is no access for any independent garage to be able to support it or even diagnose it. And this group of individuals is really kind of the target of the future ZEVs. And so I'm trying to figure out how we can continuously harmonize, which I think these rulemakings could be a great program to make sure that we're not losing this opportunity, if this is going to be a proposal that's going to move forward, to consider these heavy-duty technologies that ARB is incentivizing. The engines versus the systems, I think, is kind of where I'm looking at this. Just because a vehicle has zero emission tailpipe, you know, you've got systems that have failures. And when those failures don't work, or those vehicles can't stay on the road, you've got emissions. I'd be 100% electric right now if it wasn't for my OEM. And I've been down for 6 months with my ZEVs and no OEM support. He's an out-of-state OEM that's / dealer. And, you know, these are failures that have happened because of, I could say multiple reasons, but one example would be the software is proprietary protected. You know, when that third party or that OEM has their software supported by a third party and that company goes bankrupt, they can't even access their own technology. Those are one examples. You've got vehicles that are coming into business commerce as a gasoline vehicle and certified as a gasoline vehicle. And then these OEMs get exemptions because there's zero tailpipe emissions, and they get to put an aftermarket kit on it. And when they put an aftermarket kit, everything is no longer warranted by that original OEM. And there's really, it's all a self-certification process. And so the loads on that vehicle and the system might be completely different from one application to another. And when you not only talk about miles, you're also talking about loads and different types of applications. And so the wear and tear on those systems are completely different from one application to another. So one might say, well, how come that one vocation can drive that vehicle for 100,000 miles without any failures? But then that urban vehicle that's loading their vehicle, all based on the regulations, cannot keep their vehicle on the road. Those are different failures that are happening, and we can't get support with aftermarket kits, maybe because the OEM doesn't provide the support that they should provide, but there's no real regulation or enforcement. And the biggest thing that comes to my mind, why I think warranties and expensive parts are critical for any technology, and who pays the cost is one issue. But we're looking at expensive parts. We're looking at about trying to support climate goals, and, you know, failure rates could, if the durability and useful life isn't there, for safety reasons, you know, we could be killing people on roads versus in air quality. And we've got vehicles that, when they're commercially registered, there is no lemon law. And when we talk about the new small OEMs coming into these new technologies, I'm thinking it'd be important to consider how we can make sure we're moving and supporting all technologies and level the playing field, because I think this is where it's going to be difficult to get people to adopt without durability and reliability.
So thank you. So is your proposal that we, for example, proposed equivalent warranty requirements for ZEVs?
Yes.
Okay. I'll have to think about that. I don't think that was currently on our radar screen, because we were thinking, well, if a ZEV fails, it's still a ZEV. But I think you're saying, well, gosh, if my ZEVs fail, then I have to shift my work and use diesel, for example, instead. Is that kind of what you're?
Well, yeah, because what you have is a completely proprietary system. You know, nobody can access that vehicle. You can't take it to any garage. And right now, we don't have any requirements to have a ZEV OEM or dealer support the product. And some of these OEMs are out of state. And so we're having long periods of downtime. or you can't even keep the vehicle on the road. And these are just, these are lessons learned. And without the OEM supporting their own product, we're having, bad experiences, but more importantly, we just need support. And so if the warranty, hypothetically, there is no standard either there, and some are doing the right thing, and then some aren't. And so I think in order to support the space and the technology, without a standard, this becomes, I guess, fragmented.
Cool, thanks for your comment. We'll think about it.
One more question.
Yeah, this is Larry Wylute again from Premium 2000. I just wanted to make two comments that were brought up here earlier in response to those comments. One had to do with the OEM coverage, that an aftermarket warranty may not mirror those coverages. And just to comment on that is we can mirror those. So we can extend out the coverage on an original OEM warranty and match it. The other comment is with regards to maintenance. We do have a grace period that if for some reason an operator doesn't hit the 25,000 mile interval on an oil change or filter change, we don't cut them off after 25,001 mile. There is a grace period, and that could be customized as well. Anyway, just wanted to make those.
Thanks.
Steve Thomason with Valley Bulk. There was a few things that were brought up, and duty cycle has a lot to do with longevity of parts. A lot of the first generation, I'll call it, of the DPF systems that I've run in my fleet, we were seeing 300,000 miles, no problem, due to the nature of where we haul what we do. Some of the trucks that we ran in a more city application, the number dropped off drastically. Stop and go, bumper to bumper, that number became half, So duty cycle has a lot to do with how these systems operate. Heat generated seems to make the longevity of the after-treatment systems that are in place now live longer.
Okay. If no one has any more questions, let me read a few more responses that came in. One of them is from our very own Sharon Lemieux, and she responded that CARB has full authority to arbitrate warranty coverage. That's in the warranty regulations. We do not allow lack of maintenance to deny warranty. We also mediate retrofit warranty, and we have required warranty coverage many times, at times required buyback as well. There is no allowable maintenance to emission control system, which includes engine components throughout useful life. Okay, another question from Mike Tunnell at ATA. Are the operational inducements associated with the NOx aftertreatment considered when determining the NOx benefits? If so, how? And I would defer to Lee, but I don't see him here. So that may be a question we have to follow up on because it's inventory related. No one else here. Okay, Kevin Crichton from West Valley Trailways. Thanks for addressing the issue. Through the years, we have experienced great financial loss due to the limited warranty on the aftertreatment. It started with our Van Hool, V-A-N-H-O-O-L, buses with Caterpillar engines. We bought 3 buses in 2011 that were 2009 models. The first week, we ended up towing them to San Leandro After the 5th generation ARD head and changing spark plugs monthly and being on a first-name basis with most of the mechanics. In frustration, we went to turn them back into ABC. They instead gave us an option of changing the power packs. These coaches had 250,000 miles on them. We were open to suggestion. They repowered and charged us $70,000 and added it to our loan. We drove to Indiana and 2 weeks later picked up Detroit Allison combo from the CAT ZF problem. That Detroit now has 400,000 miles on them. Our OTR coaches approach 75,000 miles a year, or used to when we did these tours. The unreliability has caused us to lose some contracts. So the math goes, warranty $150K, which equals 2 years. Engine warranty we get for 500,000 miles. These steps forward are appreciated. It's hard enough to stay in business without having constant issues with regeneration after 150,000 miles. We change oil frequently. It's usually an air anomaly that catches us by surprise. The engine manufacturers have doubled the download speed for diagnosis. This step forward for warranty should help. Matt Spears from EPA.
Oh, yeah, actually, so Jeff, I don't know if it's the same one. I got this
Okay.
one too, so why don't I do this one?
Go
So
ahead.
yeah, so Matt Spears from EPA also submitted a comment, and he says he appreciates the focus on engine-related upstream failures that can lead to downstream after-treatment failures. However, he asks, has there been any consideration for prioritizing extending warranty for a small subset of emission-related components, those that are most critical for emission control? Among all the possible emission-related component failures, it would seem that failures of the after-treatment catalysts and sensors and DEF delivery components could be those responsible for the largest emission increases. So he's asking if we have any comments on prioritizing extended warranties only for after-treatment components, and he wonders if this could help mitigate some of the potential warranty cost increases. We have been talking about this, and actually because Matt's brought this very issue up before, I think the way that ARB has been approaching this is because the engine and after treatment is really one big system, and you can have something fail that doesn't sound like it's part of the SCR system or doesn't sound like it's part of the DPF, but it has downstream implications. So we've been really thinking that everything potentially emission-related could be covered. But I think we do plan at this next work group meeting that we have to kind of go through more specifically kind of what we're thinking of when we think of what's emission-related. And this is an issue we could explore further. Let me turn this around and ask for those of you in the audience and those of you viewing the webcast. I'm definitely hearing from EMA and the manufacturers concerns about this increasing the cost of vehicles. Would an approach like what Matt is proposing be more attractive to you? Is that something that would make this more palatable? And if you need to think about it and get back to us later, that's totally fine as well.
I see that Lee's back. So let me repeat the question. Lee, maybe you can address it. It was from Mike Tunnell at ATA. He asked if the operational inducements associated with the NOx after treatment system are considered when determining the NOx benefits for this rule.
To answer this question, first of all, when we do the modeling for the inducement, we specifically consider relate to the tampering of the system. For example, you put a water or undergrade DEF, those kind of things, or tampering with the sensor or system. So in the impact modeling, we are totally discount the inducement. Basically means that we assume the inducement mechanism is work 100%. So that's the baseline. However, having said that, we are actively evaluating this assumption because some recent data indicate that in some systems, this mechanism may not work 100%. You put water, you assume certain hour, certain mile, the mechanisms kick in, but some data indicates not the case. On the general derate mechanism, our assumption is they are working in general. So therefore, a part of the discount for the emissions it's taken care. We assume it's taken care by the OBD system. So therefore, on that part, we are accounting certain inducement, but not as strong as the tampering-related the assumption. Now, we have received some data from the industry, specifically from EMA, as Tim mentioned earlier. We are going to evaluate those data and check against our assumptions, see how well we are counting for these. So I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, Lee.
Say, Joe Rekovats here with the Western States Trucking Association. Question, and I'm making an assumption here. If this proposal were passed by the CARB board or something similar to it, would the vehicles that would be covered really be effective, those newly sold new vehicles, after this is put into the CCR, or is there a retroactive part of this?
No, we're targeting new engines only and those produced in 2022 and later. No, this would not affect anything in use.
Tim French again with EMA. Additional comment. On page 19 of the presentation, you referenced that the extended warranty periods would apply to criteria pollutants only, and the extended warranties would not apply with respect to the GHG standards, including the standards that CARB is poised to adopt very soon. I would just point out in the draft reg language that you've got, there is no distinction there between criteria pollutants and greenhouse gas pollutants, so you might want to add some kind of feature there to make sure that CARB outstands.
Well, appreciate that. There are other sections that we didn't reproduce for the handout. They do directly refer to the greenhouse gas standards.
Good, thanks.
Oh, and actually, so a previous question was asked regarding what about Class 2B and 3 vehicles, which are indeed covered by the sort of heavy-duty greenhouse gas standards. As is indicated on slide 19, for this proposal, these proposed amendments, we are only thinking of covering Class 4 and up, so over 14,000 pounds gross vehicle weight. So this wouldn't affect, large pickup trucks and vans.
Matt Smith from Navistar. I'm glad that Lee is in the room because this mainly applies to him. Will ARB entertain a greater sensitivity analysis with the expected increase in longevity of these vehicles as consumers hang on to these vehicles in a longer period, even while they may be covered under an extended warranty? I'm just wondering that we're trying to address the emissions up front in the pre 500,000 mile interval, but if these vehicles are run out to 1.2, 1.4 million miles, are we going to see the emissions increase on the back end, and will that offset up front? The other point that staff needs to be aware of is that larger fleets buy centrally and not necessarily in the state of California. And, so they're going to be buying a mixture of vehicles, and they have the flexibility to basically buy 49 state vehicles, allow them to accumulate a period of mileage, and then bring them into the state and basically have them covered under whatever the tailored extended warranty that they feel is appropriate. I think that's going to really adversely impact both the dealerships here in the state of California and all the staff that they have working there. In addition to, it's also going to adversely impact the smaller fleet operators, as we've heard in the audience today. And I think that also needs to be taken into account.
This is Lisa with San Diego Airport Parking Company. And to address the Class 2B and Class 3, I'm curious as to why we're not moving forward, considering that the goals is all about admissions. The most popular vehicle, commercial vehicles that you have on the road, 50% of the commercial vehicles are registered as a Class 2B through 4. There's over 500 airports in the United States. There's over 34,000 hotels as well that drive these vehicles. These are diesel vehicles. We have these exact same problems as it relates to DPF. We're running on average, in those two types of locations, the hotels and the airports, we're running on average 40 to 60,000 miles per year in our vehicles. We turn over our fleets pretty quickly, but because of the duty cycle, that wear and tear on the DPF is exactly what some of the comments were today. I heard is that we're running that duty cycle that's short duty. We never get on the freeway, so we don't get that 200 temperature. That is when that DPF regenerates and cleans the vehicles. We're dealing with clog issues all the time, and right now I've got an issue with one of my Fords, and we've got to replace the DPF, I'm told, and it's out of warranty because of the amount of miles we do in 1 year, exceeded staying under the warranty, so the durable useful life is the issue as it relates to that one part. And because of our duty cycle. Some of the issues that I see when I've tried to get involved in how we can maintain our vehicles, we take our vehicles literally every 60 days to the OEM to do manual regeneration so that we could assure ourselves that an expensive part like the DPF won't be subject to our duty cycle. But even then, we've got issues that are really hard for the OEMs or for anybody to look at because getting to the DPF is not easy. And one example is that the spray pattern of the urea, if any one of those nozzles are clogged, you really won't know it, and it affects how that cleaning process takes place. And so these are things that when these parts are hard to get to. So I would be proposing that we certainly do make sure that the DPF has some type of extended warranty program because it will affect us being on the road. And the wear and tear of one application is completely different, and the technology doesn't support that application. And then back to the question of, I'm not sure why we're not including a heavy-duty vehicle that's a heavy-duty vehicle.
Lisa, thank you for your comment. And I guess I have to apologize. I can't recall exactly why we set the limit at the Class 4 vehicles and above. I'll have to go back and talk internally.
I believe it had to do with pulling the engine out of the chassis or pulling the engine out to test it and versus chassis testing.
Yes.
I believe that had part to do with it.
Yeah. But we'll formulate a better response for you and get back to you on that.
Yeah, because I would just suggest, again, it is your most popular commercial vehicle on the road, which is emissions. So I just think that if we could align, these rulemakings, it becomes very complex for different applications, but also gross vehicle weights. So, and I think when I'm thinking, we're always trying to reduce emissions, and part of reducing emissions might mean someone may want to be incentivized to buy a 14,000 gross vehicle weight vehicle instead of a 19,000 because they're trying to help reduce emissions and gain efficiency. So I think the more that we can support alignment with rulemakings, I think it's going to simplify these issues and move us in the right direction.
All right. Again, thank you for your comment. And we'll get back to you specifically on that.
Matt Smith again from Navistar. We've heard a couple of times and seen the number offered about the turbocharger and after-treatment failure rates from both people in the audience today and in various presentations. Would it be possible for ARB to disaggregate that failure rate based on class size? Are we seeing a greater failure rate in the lighter classes and less in the higher classes? because that may help us understand a little bit better where some of the problems are coming from. So again, I suggest both the DPF and the turbos, since those seem to be the hot items for folks.
Yeah, I think we can take a stab at that and bring that information to the next work group meeting.
Yeah, Ray Estinis from Volvo. Also, too, with that, the warranty information you included, was that based on EWIR reports that manufacturers are submitting, or was that, I mean, which is, you know, what we're getting through our warranty system, or was that an extrapolation out to the end of useful life or later?
I think there were three different sources. Can you put the, yeah, let me see if I can get back to that slide. Okay, the first bullet where we mention 100% failure rates and 40% for the DPFs and the injectors, I believe that's from our EWIR group. The second one is from our in-use compliance program, which is a different group, and they tested the engines for the NTE against the NTE limits. And then we have a third group that does in-use surveillance for the truck and bus program. And you know, they tested, I believe, on the UDDS cycle and monitor the emissions that way.
Okay, but on the, like on the 100% failure rates, is that on, was that a particular engine family in a particular model year, or I guess I'm from us as a manufacturer, I know from the reports we submit, we don't see anything close to that. So I'm trying to get a handle on, I mean, I know obviously you can't spell out names, but I mean, these numbers just seem alarmingly high for what we see from our data that we're submitting to ARB, and I just want to make sure we're looking at and comparing apples to apples.
Sure, I think we can get you a better response from our EWIR people.
How you determine that would be helpful.
Sure.
And then just another comment, throughout the presentation, I know a few times, Jeff, you mentioned model year 2022 in a few places in the presentation, which for many, at least Class 8 trucks that we deal with, that's typically a January 2021 introduction date. But in other places in the presentation, you just mentioned 2024. So again, are you talking model, is it consistent when you're talking, other than your adoption dates of 2017 and 19,
For
is your
our
actual
warranty,
introduction dates, is that based on model year when you reference it in other places?
it's model year. And there's
Okay.
two steps to our warranty amendments. One that's, we hope to be adopted this year, 2017, and implementation would take effect in 2022.
And that's with model year 2020?
Model year 2022.
Okay, gotcha. Thank
And then
you.
the other one, 2019, and then 2024 would be the implementation for model year.
Okay, great, thank you.
So
That's why-
there was one question on math that you guys brought up, like, hey, ARB, aren't you guys exaggerating? How could there be over 100% failures? And I believe the way that's calculated, and Sharon, chime in if I'm saying this wrong, is that we took the total number of like warranty failures, like claims that we got information on, and then divided that by the number of trucks. So I think that is indicating is that some trucks had more than one claim during their warranty period. Yeah. Okay.
Hi, my name is Rudy with Beauchamp Distributing, and I've got a question. Just came up with the 22 on page 10, 22 and subsequent year. That's when you're going to implement the proposal. So what you're saying is it's the model year, correct? Well,
Yes.
we're talking about engines, and engines. If I bought a 22 model year, I would have a 2021 engine. In other words, if I went out and bought a brand new truck today, it'd be a 2018 year model, but I'd have a 2017 emission vehicle engine. So that's why I want to make sure when you're saying the 2022, So I can have a 22 model year, but I'm going to be getting a 21 engine certified.
That happens, yes. That, 2022 was the model year, and that was what we were targeting.
Right, but it's going to be a 2021 engine.
Model year of the vehicle, correct.
Right, but it's
So,
going to be a
yes.
2021 motor engine.
Right. And I think, and I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but I think our presumption is that the warranty will be extended if the board approves our proposal, and it's likely that nothing will change on the car. We hope that's not the case. We hope there's more durable components, but there's no design element, so a 3-year or a 4-year lead time seemed appropriate. So if it's a 21 or 22 engine in a 22 model year, we don't think much is probably going to be changed to that engine unless it's brand new for that model year.
Well, you know how they write contracts, in this particular engine's going to be 2021, and while the new amendment takes it 22, there just could be some confusion there, and that's why I'm just bringing that up.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing there, it shows that I've heard a lot of conversation about bringing outside vehicles in from out of state to take advantage of the proposal of the California emissions. Well, all the trucks that are certified in California have that certification label on the engine. So if I had a 49 state truck and I have a turbocharger that is, it's out of warranty on the federal side, but it's, if I go to California, I can get it fixed. Well, wouldn't the certification label on the engine differentiate that California emissions versus a federal engine? So wouldn't that protect the Californias versus the outside? I guess that's my comment.
You're gonna have to go through that one more time. You're saying it has a label, and
Yeah,
is that protected?
every engine in California has an emission control label by
Correct.
year.
Uh-huh.
So my point is, if I bought a 2018 truck today, I have a 2017 certified engine, California. Now, if I bought a truck from New York and I brought it in here and it was not certified by California, it was 49 state federally emission controlled engine, and I wanted to, take advantage of the new California regulations because now my engines, whatever, went out of warranty. Now I can, what I'm saying is the California certification on the engine should say this is for California.
Right, and it will.
But
The
other
manufacturers
people
are
saying
issued an executive order,
Right.
for their engines in California if it's California certified. And I know Kim wants to talk about this internally, but to me, it seems that if the engine is certified for sale in California, then it's covered for warranty. Now, if that engine is used out of state, I don't think we have any authority to require the other state, to make its dealers honor, an extended warranty. But if that engine was purchased out of state, but it was certified to the California standards, to the California requirements, and it has a California EO, and it's, needs service in California, I would think that would necessitate, or that would mandate that the dealer or the manufacturer would have to fulfill its obligation for the warranty for that engine, even if it was purchased out of state, if that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, that's what I was,
Yeah.
that was my point.
I'm probably missing something, but that's my thinking.
It's Man Smith again from Navistar, and I want to maybe provide perhaps a little clarification. If an OEM were to create two identical engines, mark one as a 49 state engine and one as a California-only engine, charge a surcharge for that California designation engine family, despite the fact that both are parts identical, that 49 state vehicle, if it were brought into California, I believe would not be covered under the extended warranty. And so, the customer would be on the hook for any sort of repairs.
Yes, that's how I would see it.
Tim French with EMA again. One point of clarification. You've talked about effective date based on model year, and I'm thinking that for the extended warranty, since most of it relates to engine parts and components and after-treatment systems that are fixed on the engine, probably the engine model year should be the effective model year for these effective dates, because as another speaker pointed out, if you go on vehicle, you could get a 2022 vehicle with a 2021 engine. So you probably want to make sure that you're triggering off engine model year, not just engine or vehicle.
Thanks.
This is Lisa with San Diego Airport Parking Company. Could you describe from a warranty enforcement perspective how that would be handled exactly if there was a dispute, or how does ARB play a part in that?
Sharon, would you? Just 1 second.
Hi, I'm Sharon Lemieux. I'm the branch chief of the warranty as well as in-use compliance program. For warranty, our regulations allow us to arbitrate warranty disputes between the manufacturer and the consumer. So there is a process in place where you can fill out a form. You can there's several levels you have to do. First, we always have you try to work out the warranty between the consumer and the manufacturer, but if that doesn't work, then there's a ability for you to fill out a form, and then we have a group that arbitrates the warranty, and we can make the final call.
Does that include, because these are commercially registered vehicles, and so sometimes commercially registered vehicles have different regulations associated with disputes, but I'm just curious to know if there's any difference as it relates to consumer versus commercial registered vehicles.
Well, we would consider a commercial owner a consumer also.
Okay, and then what if the warranty was, OEM was out of state, and under the warranty, the disputes in the provisions govern a different state law and also govern disputes to be handled out of state? Or you guys can, I think that's one opportunity as a question, but also something to consider when we're talking about all these aftermarkets and we're talking about OEMs. I mean, these could, if there's going to be disputes and rulemakings, I think it's an opportunity that everything should be handled in California state law and also should be handled in California based on provisions of how those warranties are written.
Well, the emissions warranty is specified in California regulations, and it doesn't matter where the manufacturer is located. In fact, many of our manufacturers are out of state. They are required to comply with the warranty requirements, and if there's any disputes, then we will raise it to their attention, and many times we've worked with the manufacturers to come up with an acceptable solution.
So you're saying that even if the written warranties have a different state law and a different dispute state, that you can still control that?
Yeah, Mike Rickenfuss, yes. For products certified in California that receive a California executive order, the manufacturers are required to comply with all the emission regulations, regardless of where they're located. Even out of country, because many of our manufacturers are out of country also.
Okay, so that includes any technology then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so seeing no more comments, there is one issue while folks are gathered that I did want to.
There is one more comment.
Oh,
Sorry,
go ahead.
one more. Matt Schrapp from Velocity Vehicle Group, and just to build on the out-of-state versus in-state, can you clarify for me that are there end-user registration requirements, being DMV registration, for California certified engines? Is a registered owner, if I'm going to register a truck in California, it doesn't have to necessarily be a California certified engine. It only pertains to when I'm purchasing a new vehicle in California. Is that right?
It is, if you are a California resident, you're required to purchase a vehicle. If you're going to a California certified vehicle in California, for the vehicle to be offered for sale in California, imported or offered for sale in California, it has to be California certified.
A new vehicle?
New only.
A new vehicle, yes.
Right. So then, stringing out the logic, if I'm an operator who doesn't want to pay the surcharge that the OEMs might put on if they have to end up doing 49 versus 50 state engine, or the up to $10,000, and we can debate about how much that actually costs for the extended warranty surcharge, why can't I just go to Arizona, buy a new truck, and come and register it in California? I just avoided all of those issues entirely.
Because it would be a new vehicle?
But I bought it in Arizona.
Yeah, but I believe there's a certain
I
requirement.
guess this is the question.
Yeah, I think there's a requirement in order to register a vehicle that's been certified for sale out of California, out of state. It has to accumulate a certain amount of mileage or usage. But again, I'd have to check on that.
But I think our proposal doesn't, it doesn't matter where it's registered. I think our proposal is dependent on the executive order. If the engine has a California executive order, then it would be covered for the extended warranty, should the board approve that. I don't think it's a matter of if it's registered with DMV or
Well,
registered in one
if
of our
the
programs.
engine manufacturer or the OEM doesn't get an executive order on that engine in California, then it doesn't have these requirements. So I guess if there's a minimum mileage threshold, that would be helpful, I think, for end users to understand, to say, hey, you can't just go to Nevada and buy a truck brand new and bring it into California to try to avoid all this stuff, because it has to be a minimum mileage threshold as a used vehicle. To clarify that, I think, would be important, because if you're a fleet operator here and you're a captive fleet operator in California, where you might not have the wherewithal to go out of state to purchase equipment out of state, you're operating at a competitive disadvantage compared to other fleets who can operate out of state, buy trucks out of state, and come into California. It's just the reality of it. So I think it's important for you guys to understand that end users need to have a clear vision of what you're planning on doing in conjunction with low NOx, with phase 2, with ZEV requirements, last mile delivery. All of this is all incorporated, but for end users are just standing around going, well, what's next? And if I'm an end user who has the ability to go to Arizona, buy a truck out of Arizona, maybe sell it to my subsidiary out of state also, then bring that truck into California, because now it's a used vehicle, not subject to FET. So these are some details that you guys probably want to work out. It's not just as easy as throw it against the wall. Here's a 500,000 mile warranty, California certified vehicle. That's it. We're already at a competitive disadvantage here in California because of the on-road truck and bus rule. More than half of the vehicles that operate in California are from out of state, per the ARB's specific numbers, right? So help us out here.
Thank you.
What was your affiliation again?
My name is Matt Schropp. I'm with the Velocity Vehicle Group of companies. We're a large commercial truck dealership network here in Southern California, Nevada, and Arizona.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so, and for the latest speaker, so Sir Matt Sharp, the gentleman, say it again? Schrapp, sorry, I reversed.
Schrapp, it kind of runs Matt Schrapp.
Okay.
It rhymes with other things too.
So
but
is your preference then, are you saying, hey, California, I would prefer you not change your warranty requirements unless you can change them federally? Is that your
Well, I don't think it's up to you guys to change them federally. I mean, engaging EPA on that level to create a national standard across the board for low NOx, for additional warranty requirements, yes, that's the end-all be-all, right? I think that South Coast has been very articulate in saying the only way that they're going to be able to reach their goals is if they have an ultra-low NOx federal standard, because half of the vehicles that operate in California are from out of state. And so, again, California is a great experiment out here. A lot of other states look to our leadership from environmental control, especially in the in-use, on-road, and off-road heavy-duty industry. And again, the end users are just left holding the bag. It costs more money for our clients, our customers, our friends, family members, everybody. It's a trickle-down effect. So again, my comment was really directed more towards, I think you guys need to be clear about how this is going to apply to California-only engines. And then nationally, if you're going to take that track, to really take a single track. Preferably, the simplest answer is usually the right one, right? Is Occam's razor or something. Please, we need from you guys to help us understand how this is going to impact our customers.
Well, but there's two things. One is, hey, can you be clear on what the rules are and how exactly a used vehicle is defined? But I wanted to make sure you actually were commenting, hey, I would prefer you not make this change at all unless you can get the feds to act simultaneously. So it sounds like you'd like both. You want us to be clear, but you'd also just prefer not to have California-specific requirements.
Well, I think from the perspective of consistency, clarity, and ease of doing business, a single standard nationwide would be preferred. I'm not going to speak for an end user who might have gone through a bunch of different warranty claims because maybe he got a bad motor for whatever reason. He might have a different perspective. It could be one of our customers who has that same exact perspective. We'll perform the work. We'll get his vehicle back to him as soon as we possibly can. We have maintenance add-ons where you can get preventative maintenance packages with substitution vehicles. We've tried to be reactive to helping our clients get their wheels turning so they can make money, so they can basically pay us at the end of the day. So if they're not successful, we're not successful. A single standard is going to be preferred just because it's clear and it's consistent. I know California likes to go it alone, but in the political climate federally, I'm not sure exactly which direction it's going to be headed overall. I hope you're not taking a wait and see approach, but as it is today, we need clarification, and a national standard would be preferred.
Yeah, well, I could just tell you that from our perspective as state regulators, we would totally prefer a national standard for all of this, for the NOx and for warranty, because like you said, so many out-of-state trucks travel here and emit here. But given the current political realities, we have to judge, well, is it better to just wait and see what the federal agencies can do and then align, or is it better for us to move forward and lead and hope that they can catch up later? So, but thank you for your
I
comments.
appreciate that. I think it's somewhere in between the two of those. I don't think you guys need to charge up the mountain. I think that there's a happy medium somewhere that is going to be necessary. Otherwise, this is just going to turn into more lawsuits, and it just drags it on further. So, I mean, you guys have been down this road before, obviously, with the consent decrees. So I appreciate the perspective and the clarification on what exactly a California certified vehicle means being sold in California, out of state, minimum mileage thresholds, what have you. That would be appreciated.
Yeah, and I think what we can do, we can definitely articulate. There were a number of questions where we didn't have complete answers today. So I think what we can do, in addition to just articulating those at the next work group meeting, just so not everyone has to come and listen, we can also put together a little document that lays out in writing and post it up to our rulemaking website to clarify on these questions where we need to go back and talk to legal or do our homework a bit.
Hey, Jeff, this is Ray Istonis again from Volvo. One other just thought, has there been any, obviously we have refuse trucks that today may get, in 5 years, may not get to 100,000 miles, or if they get over 100,000 miles, they're not going to approach that useful life. Have you given any thought to splitting out vocational as a separate warranty item so that I mean, because obviously a lot of those applications, the 5 years is important to them, but they're never going to touch 435,000 miles.
We have given some thought to it, and we're certainly open to any proposals you might have. I think what it came down to, or what it comes down to, is that EPA does not have that 3,000-hour requirement, yet the same manufacturers are certifying vocational vehicles federally that certify in California. So it's really hard to justify keeping that 3,000-hour limit. Oh, it's a separate warranty for vocational?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't on. But yeah, I meant the you know, a 250,000 mile or 300,000 mile limit for vocational, just because those people are, in many cases, not all, but many cases, they're not getting the mileage per year that a on-highway line haul, regional haul vehicle is.
Well, current thinking is that the 5-year limitation is what's triggering, you know, the end of warranty federally, and we're not proposing to modify that. So we'll still have that 5-year limitation. So again, you know, we're open to suggestion, you know, on how to do that, but right now our thinking is that the 5-year limit will be sufficient.
But if, you know, if folks, I think Tim French suggested something similar, and if folks want to think about that and give us some specific suggestions for, you know, how we might, how it might make sense to treat some vocations differently, it seems like something like a refuse truck, like would be pretty straightforward to define. Just from working on other regulations, sometimes when you carve out an exemption like that, it's very hard sometimes to write the definition specifically, and you might end up, you know, pulling in things where it's not appropriate. But we would, at least at the first thought I have when hearing that is that's a reasonable thing that we should really consider. So if folks can help us flesh out details that they think would make sense, that would be very helpful to us.
This is Lisa with San Diego Airport Parking Company again. I agree with trying to find some type of process where short duty versus long duty cycle in and of itself really reacts differently to wear and tear. And it's not always matched by the miles. I know that some vehicles are definitely tracking use by hours automatically within the OBD of the vehicle, but getting access to that I know is not always in all types of engines and vehicles. So my first thought is I think I do definitely support trying to find a way to manage the short duty cycle because it does have different types of wear and tear issues, and it's not available through miles. And then I also support, you know, any type of standard that makes it simple for all heavy-duty vehicles, because I think as we try to continue to support the climate goals, without getting us all on the same page at the same time, it's going to create confusion, and you've got your climate goals that are very aggressive to hit for zero-emission vehicles, or whether we're going to be driving low NOx, and the behaviors created by the technology to support low NOx, I think would be a simple way to put that, you know, any type of standard that could be a single standard would be a preference. I think that's almost impossible, and I think it should include all heavy-duty vehicles and all technologies, because reliability at the end of the day and durability is what these investments are about for us. You know, we all expect a return on our investment, but without them being reliable and durable, we're not going to get there. And that includes any technology.
Okay, thank you for your comment. So do we have any other online questions? No? Okay, and no other comments here. The last thing I wanted, just while we have folks together, and Jeff started to mention this, so one of the issues that we're considering is this 3,000 hour limit that's currently in the California warranty regs, but not in the federal regs. And so for the folks who are here today, does anyone have the opinion that we need to maintain that? Like as Jeff mentioned, we're currently thinking, well, if folks have been complying federally without that, it doesn't seem like it would be needed. So for simplicity and harmonization, we would cut it. Does anyone disagree with that? Or is everyone just really hungry? Yeah, okay.
Did you hear me?
You said vocationally yes, over the road no.
We do that with our Premium 2000 warranties, and it works quite well.
No, I want to say this has been extremely useful for me and for the rest of our team here. Lots of great suggestions, and we really appreciate people traveling and taking the time to share their expertise and concerns with us. So thank you so much.
And we also want to thank Paul and his group for helping us. It's a great facility. Thank you.